If you were to describe Isagi Yoichi's soccer career, it would be described as mid, mediocre, average. Essentially, this man was an NPC, a non-playable character. And yeah, he had the chance to become a playable character, but he missed out on that opportunity. And soon after he left the game, he realized that he was destined to be an NPC, and he was going to continue living as an NPC until he was sent a letter from Jinpachi Ego, the founder of Blue Lock. And in this letter, Jinpachi Ego essentially said, "Yo, what is up, Isagi Yoichi? You want to become the best striker in the world? Well, just follow me. All you have to do is become an egoist. And becoming an egoist is as easy as learning your ABCs 1, 2, 3. And if you follow me, you will no longer be an NPC." And after reading this, Isagi Yoichi was like, "Alright, I bet. Let me head over to the Blue Lock." And upon entering the Blue Lock, Isagi Yoichi overhears the speech from Jinpachi Ego. And Jinpachi Ego essentially says, well, you need ego to win. You need to become an egoist. You need to become a little bit self-centered, a little bit more arrogant, have some sense of superiority over other players to truly win. And now a lot of the characters in Blue Lock were stunned, angered by this, and a lot of the viewers were as well, as I was one of them. I was like, what is this man Jinpachi Ego cooking? What is he cooking? But as we go on through season 1, we slowly start to see that, yeah, you actually do need an ego to win. You need the self-confidence. You don't need to be Baro level of arrogance or superiority over others, but you need some of it. You essentially need to believe that, yeah, you can become the best. You belong with the best, and what you deserve is the best. And it's not wrong to essentially believe all of that. It's just that you don't need to do that to an extreme. But I feel that most people, before even watching Blue Lock, already know that just because you have an ego doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to succeed and become the best. And just because you have the bigger ego doesn't mean you'll be the best either. And we see this in Blue Lock, for example, with Baro, as despite having probably one of the biggest egos in Blue Lock, he is less successful than guys like Isagi Yoichi, Nagi, Ryo, Bachira, Chigiri, and many other characters. And they contributed to winning soccer despite having less of an ego than Baro. And that just shows that having a large ego by itself doesn't generate success. And what helps generate success is the motivation of buying a new Amelia body, the fear of losing. Simply, Jinpachi Ego masterfully designed the Blue Lock to give the players a fear of losing their dreams of becoming a star striker. And that birthed the evolution of new ideas and tactics for the Blue Lock players. And the two that I'm going to specifically focus on for this video are the two abilities for Isagi Yoichi. And the two abilities he does best are smelling a goal and turning himself into a puzzle. Smelling a goal is kind of like seeing the best future on the field, and it kind of gets described as that, as well as we see Nico, Itoshi Rin, and Isagi Yoichi, all three of them having these skills and all three of them battling it out with each other to see who can see the best future for their team and for themselves. And this skill can also be applied to our lives as well. And I think it would be best if I gave y'all a real life example. And before I go into my example, I would like to say that when it comes to seeing the best future in Blue Lock, it was illustrated by seeing many different paths for success or failure. And we saw this in the match between Isagi, Nagi, Baro versus Ryo, Kumagari, and Chigiri, in that Isagi saw many different successful paths when he was passing to Nagi, but when it came to Baro, he saw zero opportunities of success. And if we were to take that and apply it to my life, for me, my goal is to hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube this year. And I see many different paths where it is achievable if I have the motivation and the work ethic and I continuously improve my content so it's more enjoyable for y'all to watch. I can definitely hit 10k subscribers this year. But I also do see some paths where I do fail. If I don't continuously improve on my content and I continue to lose motivation, my work ethic goes down, and eventually I become lazy, then that path would lead to me not getting 10,000 subscribers. And back to the Blue Lock example with Isagi seeing many different paths when it comes to passing it to Nagi to score a goal, and seeing 0 paths for a goal when passing it to Baro. But despite seeing that, Isagi kept on passing it to Baro even though it didn't work because he wanted to create a chemical reaction. But it was basically impossible to do that. And going back to my example, well, I guess our example, because in anything, if you don't have the motivation, if you're lazy, it's obviously not gonna work. You're not gonna get the chemical reaction to see a possible goal or great future for yourself. And you kind of have to have the mental toughness to like snap out of it like Isagi did during that match, and where he was like, you know what? You're a horse, Baro. You're simply a horse. And that was a hilarious and iconic moment, but it illustrated how Isagi Yoichi finally came to the right decision in that if this is not going to work, I have to do the path that's obviously open. And when it comes to us like perceiving how to become successful, it's kind of obvious because look, we see it everywhere. I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all have watched those financial gurus or like successful people on YouTube and all of that, just talking about like the ways, top 10 ways to become successful and all of that stuff. It's like a lot of that stuff is pretty much obvious, but you have to have the mental toughness to realize what you're doing is not that, and you have to take action to go onto that right path and eventually live a life of success. And by doing this, Isagi won the game and he indirectly made Baro a better player. But that's not the only skill he has, as we're forgetting about his iconic skill of turning himself into a puzzle. And basically turning himself into a puzzle is him constantly reinventing himself. And Isagi does this in every match, as he turns into a puzzle like 2 times every single match. And that's because he's constantly adapting and taking skills from other people and putting it into his skill set to eventually become one of the best players in Blue Lock by the end of season 1. And one of the key things that Isagi took was actually Baro's training routine, and that allowed him to have a better physical ability and better stamina when it came to facing a Toshi Rin, as near the end of the match he still was not tired yet, and the whole team really wasn't tired either because they were all on Baro's training routine and they incorporated that into their skill set. And if we were to take a real life example, that would be kind of like me looking at the best YouTubers, let's just say like the Masked Man, Giguk, and Scam Bully Reviews, looking at their content and just taking some of the stuff that they do very well and just putting it into my content. And if we were to go to a more relatable route, I'm pretty sure if y'all watch Blue Lock, y'all have obviously played some type of sport, and it's like, well, if I simply just take from the best guys, and let's just say for example basketball, if I just try to replicate Steph Curry's shooting, Nikola Jokic's passing, and Kawhi Leonard's defense, I can become a pretty solid player. I might not be able to do it at the same level as all of them, but if I take what they're good at and just put it into myself, I can become a better basketball player compared to everyone else. And yeah, if you just combine having an ego with having a fear of losing, and then those 2 skills, you can see how Isagi Yoichi became one of the best strikers in the Blue Lock. And it is truly inspirational to see the amount of character growth that Isagi had, because he went from being an NPC to becoming someone who actually has the skills to become one of the best strikers in the world. And the skills that Isagi has can be applied to many other places besides sports, because wherever competition exists, there's bound to be a need to have these skills, the ability to reinvent yourself and see the best possible way for success is 100% needed in any area of your life. And I really appreciate that Blue Lock does this, because on the surface level, it's just an action-packed series, but once you go deeper into all of these characters, look at all their themes and stuff, you start to realize that, wait a second, low-key, I can apply this stuff to my life. And that's why I wanted to make a video about Isagi Yoichi, because I believe since he is the best striker in the Blue Lock, it would be useful to know all of his skills and how he wins and scores goals and makes his team better and all of that. And I think it would be very beneficial to pick up all of these skills, so I just wanted to make this video about that. And soon I'll probably make videos about all the other characters once I catch up to the manga. So yeah, that'll be all for this video. I'm gonna go listen to a 1 hour Egoist playlist inspired by Blue Lock. So yeah, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos and all that, and peace.